Pastor Henry Parker, and I am married with 3 children, and I am a pastor of a local church in Takoradi, Ghana, and I am also the field director for a non-denominational Christian organization called Kingdom Impact Conference. And we established this organization in 2005, and our vision is to train pastors in leadership, empowering them for them to be effective in their various areas of calling. And our target groups are pastors who work in rural areas and townships, who do not normally have the opportunity to travel to the cities to have, as it were, be part of the conferences. So we move into their communities and we organize leadership trainings for them, and we've been doing this for over 16 years. I came to know about PTI in 2017 through Reverend Paul Morris. Reverend Paul Morris is our former president for Kingdom Impact Conference, the organization that I am a field director for. He introduced me to PTI, and it was a time when Kingdom Impact Conference was trying to, shift from its regular objective to reach out to pastors in rural areas. We wanted to expand our vision, and so he thought partnering with PTI would be of great help. So that was when I got to know about PTI. Basically, the role of a conference host first is to look for a suitable location where there is a need for training. That is the first role, and also to get in contact with as many pastors as possible. So normally I look out for pastor groups in that community, because we have quite a number of pastor groups in our country. We have Pastors Network, we have national pastors groups which have branches in various towns and cities. So my focus is firstly getting in contact with these groups and establishing contacts with them, because that is where you have the opportunity to meet majority of the pastors. So I share with them the vision that we are carrying, and I assure them of the help that the pastors will receive if we are allowed to hold conferences. So after we have been able to establish that relationship, I give them invitations and look for suitable location or venue for our conferences. But most of the time, I try to find a convenient time where we can have majority of the pastors willing to attend, because it isn't every time in a year that is convenient for pastors to leave their normal pastoral work to spend almost a week in a sitting for conferences. So sometimes it's very necessary for as a conference host to agree on a convenient time that will be suitable for PTI and also the pastors themselves for us to have those conferences. Preaching and teaching from the text. Preaching and teaching on the text. And we also focused on the duties of a pastor within the areas of the ministry of a pastor, the life of the pastor, especially the spiritual life of the pastor and the soul of the pastor. So it was in these two areas that this particular conference focused on. And if I may be permitted to go a little bit further, we learned how, how it is to understand a test. There are some tests that are really difficult to understand. If I may be permitted to use the expression break. So PTI has developed a model, and we were taught how to apply those models to assist us to understand the test. Because you can only preach or teach effectively if you understand the test. And that is where a lot of pastors face challenges when they are preparing sermons. So PTI has developed a model, and so we taught the pastors how to use the models and to apply them when they are preparing their sermons for preaching and for teaching. With this particular conference, we use, for obvious reasons, and we use local trainers, of which I was one. And my observation is that because they understand our local language, the mode of communication was a lot better this time. Yeah, because they were able to communicate in a language that most of the pastors understood. And one observation is that the simplicity of their presentation, was also a key that contributed effectively. And the pastors were also the trainers also share their personal experience. There are people who have also been in training for over 10 years, and they have experiences training pastors in different communities. So they share with us their experiences and how they have seen pastors who were also having difficulty preaching from the text through their training have mastered the art of using models to prepare sermons from a text. So these are encouraging experiences we had from the trainers who came to this particular conference. The most encouraging part was my new experience in knowing that in my preaching, because of the models we were taught, helps me check myself to be faithful to the test. It's very encouraging to me, because as a pastor with my background, sometimes you are carried away. Sometimes you are carried away in your teaching and in your preaching. But with this particular training, I've realized that it is beautiful and refreshing if you are able to keep to the text, if you're able to keep to the context and the content of the text. It makes your preaching beautiful. You're able to communicate the heartbeat of the message effectively, and I think it makes your listeners understand you better. So it's one thing that I'm really encouraged about with this particular conference that we had. It's not easy preparing from a test. It is not easy, especially if you are used to a particular way of preaching and teaching. It is not easy at all. It requires a lot of patience. It requires a lot of patience. It requires time. It requires research, because in your quest to understand a particular text, maybe you need to know the historical background of the text. You have to refer to commentaries and other helpful reference materials, and it requires a lot of study. So it is quite challenging, but it's useful. It's quite challenging, but it's useful. So now a new challenge has been thrown to me and other pastors, that we have to work extra hard. We have to work extra hard. So the challenge I brought from this conference to my life as a pastor is to work extra hard. Is to work extra hard if I can be effective and be able to communicate effectively the heartbeat and the theme of any text I want to preach and teach on. The model provided by PTI is a very good tool. The model PTI provided in the materials they provided is a very good tool, and many pastors will admit to that. And it's a tool that has really equipped us to assist us to be effective. And not only the models, but the other materials they provided. They are well written, detailed material, easy to understand. And I always say that you can't get PTI materials anywhere in the world. They are unique, they are special, and I'm happy that these materials were made available to us. These are materials that we will treasure, and they have equipped us really for effective work in ministry, especially in our preaching and in our teaching. What I really request from PTI supporters is to pray that pastors will not abandon what they have learned, because there is a tendency to go to your old ways after such trainings, because there is always a default way of doing things, especially when you've been doing it for years, and especially when the new one requires a lot of hard work to do it. So I'm praying that PTI supporters will continue to pray that pastors will not abandon this new way of preparing for preaching and teaching, that they will maintain it no matter how difficult it is. They will keep at it and work hard at it, and make sure that they master it. So this is one particular area I will request prayer for, that pastors who have been equipped in this conference will not abandon what they have learned. Majority of the pastors who attended the conference are pastors I have a relationship with since our first conference. So our relationship have graduated from conferences to personal relationships. So I have a way of reaching out to them, and so I intend using those channels to follow up on how they are, doing as in terms of the knowledge they have acquired from the conference. So I have a network through which I can be able to follow up effectively on how they are, applying the knowledge they have received in their personal life and their ministry. It's a good thing to be involved in PTI conferences, because I know how much PTI puts, at least I know a little about how much effort PTI is putting into equipping pastors. And it's disturbing, especially in my country, when we hear the kind of things people preach on social media. It's quite disturbing. It's quite, and many people are being deceived. Many people are being deceived, and a lot of people are living and walking in error. So I believe that all that PTI is doing now is trying to correct the error within the body of Christ. It's trying to correct them. And one of the ways by which these errors can be corrected is when pastors preach the truth. It's when pastors preach the truth, and they don't preach their mind, they don't preach their feelings, they don't preach their emotions. So any opportunity any pastor will get to be involved in this noble program, I think they should take advantage of it and involve themselves, because at the end of the day, it will help bring sanity. It will help bring sanity into the body of Christ, and also the propagation of the truth for the effective growth, the effective, healthy growth of the believers, or the believer. Yeah. It's a good thing. It's, at least with a little experience I've had with KIC and this few years with PTI, if that is the line they want to follow, I think it's a good decision, it's a good vision, and it's welcomed. I will encourage whoever wants to do that to prepare effectively towards it. And two, I will also advise that they clearly define their objectives. They clearly define their objectives and spell it out, so that whoever might show interest will know what exactly they are in for, whatever they are in for. And also, they should also clearly indicate their target group and what they seek to achieve, I believe that if these things are made clear, it will be good, and people will welcome the initiative. So I think it's a good idea. I will encourage it. I wouldn't mind being part of it, but I think there has to be an underground work. There has to be a good homework should be done in order for effective implementation. That is what I can say about that.